Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm your Bunny Slipper, and today we are going to be covering builds I'm personally bringing into the final shape. That being said, let's hop right into the video. Alright, so for the first build we're going to be showcasing the Warlock Brood Weaver, the Strand class. We're going to be using the Swarmers, and any strand weapon. I'm choosing Rufus's Fury here, and any other weapon you want. I'm just running the Indebted Kindness for Anti-Barrier and the Apex for Overload. So on the Brood Weaver, obviously we want Healing Ribbon Burst Glide. Those are the two best options. Arcane Needle, the melee. We're using the Shackle Grenade, so we can use the Mind Spun Invocation to consume, and then the final blows, while it's active, will create a suspending detonation. This is very helpful for clearing out large groups of enemies. Then we have Weaver's Call, and with the buff it's getting in the final shape, we're going to be able to cast the Rift and create 3 Threadlings at our feet, and also be able to continuously make Threadlings as we're in the Rift dealing damage. And then for the fragments, we got Thread of Rebirth to give our Strand Weapon final blows a chance to create a Threadling. We have Fury, so damaging targets with a Tangle grants melee energy. Thread of Warding, picking up an orb of power, grants Woven Mail. And Thread of Wisdom, defeating suspended targets creates an orb of power. So those two are going to be going hand in hand. Alright, now moving on to the armor. The helmet mods are pretty much always going to be the same. You can always run a heavy ammo finder to give just that increased up panel heavy ammo. They're also fixing the drop rates for these types of mods. That's something to consider with your builds. I also run any sort of siphon mod that's going to match up to help create more power. And then for the gauntlets, I always run impact induction, so that way causing damage with a powered melee is going to reduce my grenade cooldown for further shackle grenade uptime. Heavy-handed, so if I get the kill, it's going to create another orb of power. And then I just throw fastball on there because I can afford it, if I'm being honest. And then for the chest piece, you can pretty much run any sort of different damage resistance here. It's going to depend on whatever encounter you're on, what activity you're doing, so forth. I like the melee and sniper damage resist combo, or the melee concussive dampener combo, because melee resist gives damage resistance to any enemy that is damaging you within a 4 meter radius, and I believe sniper damage resist is any enemy damaging you within or outside of a 40 meter. It's either 35 or 40 meter radius. So those are going to be helpful for almost anything, any type of damage. These are going to be for if you're facing a particular enemy type. And then the boots are the Swarmers. So I always run Better Already on the boots, so that way when we pick up an orb, we also get healing as well as our Woven Mail with this build. And then pretty much you want to run any weapon surge or scav paired with your heavy or your special weapon. In this case, I'm not really too worried about my special ammo, so it's going to be based for my heavy. On the Warlock Volunteer, I run Outreach just to reduce the melee cooldown a little bit. Since you have 3 charges, you almost always are down at least 1 cooldown, so it's helpful there. But the main part of this build that we're using is Powerful Attraction Reaper. So when we cast our Rift, we're picking up orbs to give us Woven Mail and healing. And when we cast it, we're going to be able to get another orb of power off our next weapon kill. Alright, this next build is more of an honorable mention. It's something to note that this helmet, next season Apotheosis Veil, immediately regenerates health, melee, grenade, and rift energy for you and your nearby allies. So upon activating your super, after your super ends, temporarily gain greatly increased melee and grenade generation. So this is going to be one of the best DPS options for a Warlock. I think pairing Brood Weaver with this helmet is going to just be really good for DPS phases during the new Day 1 raid coming in Final Shape. So something to have on your team if that's something that you're looking forward to doing. It's going to be useful for any super you want to use as well. So you can use it on Brood Weaver, you can use it on Well, on Voidlock, Stormcaller, Shadebinder, anything. It's going to be useful. But I definitely recommend it with the Brood Weaver. Alright, now for the next one, we are on Void Warlock. So let's take a look at our aspects here. So we're going to rock Healing Rift and Burst Glide, always, Pocket Singularity, and Scatter Grenade, being the best damage grenade in the game right now. For the aspects we're going to use are Child of the Old Gods and Feed the Void. Child of the Old Gods is going to give us our grenade melee energy, And then the Feed the Void is just going to give us Devour on every single Void ability kill, and then just keep that active for us basically the entire time we're in a fight. For the fragments here, Echo of Instability to give our Void weapons volatile rounds on grenade kills, Echo of Undermining so that the Void grenades weaken to help kill them, Echo of Persistence so that our Devourer lasts longer, and Echo of Leeching so if we get a melee kill, it's also going to start health regeneration for us and our nearby allies. The plus 10 resilience on that is always nice. And then for the armor, we're pairing it with Nezarec Sin so that our void damage kills increase our ability regeneration rate even further. So this is really going to just juice our ability energy and make it a very ability spammy build. And then again, you can run any sort of armor mods you want on this one. I just have heavy and special ammo finder for consistency, but if you wanted more orb regeneration for your surges, you can easily just throw a siphon mod on there for void or whatever your special weapon is. And then onto the gauntlets here. So I always run momentum transfer, impact induction, and bolstering detonation, just so we can reduce cooldowns for everything just as we spam our abilities here. And on the chest, again, like I mentioned in the previous build, it's going to be subjective to whatever encounter you're on. And then on the boots, it's always going to be the surge for the heavy, better already, so that doesn't change there. And then the exact same setup on the bond with Reaper and Powerful Attraction, but this time I have Bomber on just so I can get my grenade back faster. The main weapon of choice we are using is an LC's Pulse. I got lucky and got a shiny with Repulsor and Destabilizing with the option of Feeding Frenzy. It's mainly the Destabilizing that we're going for here, and Repulsor granting the Overshield on the kills from Destabilizing. So that's going to synergize really nicely with everything else with the build, because our Void kills are going to feed our abilities with Nezarec Sin. And moving on to the next build here, we have the Stasis Warlock, the Osmomancy Gauntlets on Shadebinder. So obviously Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Numble Blast, and Cold Snap grenades. And then we're running Bleak Watcher so that we can make our turrets, and Ice Flare Bolts so the Shatter will spread the freeze and chain it infinitely. Right now we got Whisper of Chains, Whisper of Torment, Whisper of Rending, and Whisper of Shards. These are subject to change with Final Shape. This is just what I have right now. These will change come Final Shape. We just have to play around with how Frost Armor feels, because they're making a lot of changes to Frost Armor and how the Overshield works, that sort of thing. But the main one, Rendering and Torment. Torment keeps our grenade uptime as high as it possibly can be. And then Whisper of Rending will allow us to break our frozen targets just more easily with our primary, which in this case is Sunshot. So we have that nice icy hot combo. And for this build, again, the helmet, just have some slots on there for heavy ammo finder. It's really not a whole lot about the spam. So we have momentum transfer and impact induction, just so we can try to reduce our grenade cooldown, and the grenade will also help reduce our melee cooldown. Again, all the resist mods subject to change for whatever encounter you're doing. The surges, again, the same. This one I have auto loading on, but with Apex I don't need that. And then Better Already as usual. And then Bomber, Powerful Attraction, and Time Dilation, or Reaper. Really just depends, because what you can do is slot on your gauntlets the font of focus if you do not have 10 discipline. So since I have 10 discipline here, I don't have to worry about it, because this is only going to take me like a couple stages higher with each armor charge I have. So if I was at, say, 9 discipline, and I slotted that, if I have the armor charge, then it's going to basically take me to 10. So if you can swing it, always try to get 10 discipline, so that way you can have constant uptime on your grenades, and that way all of your armor focus is going to be on armor charges. It's going to be focused on getting the weapon surges active for your DPS. This can be slotted, again, any damage you want. It is worth noting that the elemental charge would work nicely with stasis if you had the glacial harvest, which might get some love next season. Again, it's really going to depend on how armor or frost armor feels next season. but the big one is going to be we're going to be pairing Osmiomancy. It's still going to be one of the kings for high-end content, especially with the well nerf coming. It's just going to be able to freeze an entire room of enemies, and you're not going to die if the enemy can't shoot you. That's my thoughts on this build. Any sort of weapons, any sort of armor mods, really. It's mainly just going to be about hitting 10 Resil, 10 Discipline. Use the Osmomancy gloves. Throw your crystal turrets everywhere, and you'll succeed, I promise. Okay, now moving on to one of my new builds. So with the well nerf, as you might have seen in other videos, the resilience in the well is getting nerfed. So to help negate that, I'm going to be using the Stag Helmet. So it's going to give me the increased damage resistance when in a well. So if it doesn't work for Well of Radiance, just pop your baby Healing Rift in there. It's going to give you the same resilience basically. So it's not really getting nerfed too much. It just means you have to slot into the resilience a bit more. Overall, it's a solid change. I like the Radiance change that they're making. So if you enter the well, you just gain Radiance for 15 seconds if you leave it. That's going to be really helpful for dipping in and out of a well rather than just sit there, bored out of your mind, shooting the same targets over and over. And with this build, you definitely want 10 resilience and 10 recovery, no matter what. That's almost going to be a necessary. So for this, I have the increased resilience and recovery slotted onto the well. You can use whatever you want with the well. The biggest thing is just using Healing Rift for the stag buff. That's more of an honorable mention. It's something that I wanted to point out for all my well users that are afraid that the well is no longer going to be as viable. Just throw on stag, it'll be good. It is also worth noting for this next build, Sunbracers is going to get hit a little bit with a nerf here, but I'm still going to be bringing it in because although they're increasing or decreasing the amount of grenades you can throw from 5 to 4 and the duration from 4 seconds to 2 seconds, it's still going to be really strong. The only thing you have to worry about is right here, heat rises. Just make sure that when you are using this build and you get your powered melee kill and start throwing your grenades, to be jumping in the air and floating around. So that way with heat rises, it'll give you your melee energy back as it stays right there at the bottom. Final blows while airborne increases the duration of heat rises and grants melee energy. That's basically just going to give you your melee back, and then you can just keep chaining Sunbracers, just get another powered melee kill, and continue to throw grenades. It's not going to be that big of a deal, it just means you have to focus on this portion of it a lot more often. So again, you don't even have to use heat rises itself. You can bunny hop, which is what I do, and just be jumping around places, just killing stuff, and that's it. You just get melee energy, and then you can keep chaining it, and it's a good loop. I think this is a healthy change. It's definitely still one I'm going to be bringing in. And again, you definitely want to slot a little bit higher strength for just in case you do miss that melee kill and you want to get it back. You can still bunny hop around, but it's easier to have it a little bit higher base, so I have mine slotted at 7. Alright, for our last Warlock build we're bringing in, it is going to be the Necrotic Grip and Warlock. So what this is going to do is it's going to be a DPS monster. I used this to clear Nezarec. You'll see it in a clip I posted on other sources, other channels. You throw a melee in a boss fight in every 10 seconds, I believe. And it just does so much burst damage. Necrotic Grip stays on there and just will continuously damage the enemy. It does pair nicely with Thorn, so if you're doing it for ad clear, Thorn is still going to be decent. Osteostriga as well is going to be decent. It just won't spam the Striga perk as much with the nerf that it's getting in Final Shape. But this is still a very notable build here. With the Necrotic Grips, you can pair it with Glaive and punch stuff in an area, and it's going to spread the Necrotic Burn. You can pair this with anything that keeps you alive. Like again, I mentioned it in all my previously mentioned builds. It's mainly just keeping in mind this is a boss DPS option as well as an ad clear option. So if you're clearing ads, for example, again, I'm going to use Nezarec as the example. It has found great success in clearing out groups of enemies even in -20 contest modes and doing very high boss damage. You just got to mix it into the rotation it is worth practicing. So if you don't have like timings down, it is worth practicing that just in strikes and such, just to be able to like throw a melee, do your damage, and just re-proc it when you don't see a burn active on the boss, so you don't see the little damage numbers. But this is definitely a honorable mention for boss DPS, just like the Hypothesis Veil Helm. Having both of these paired, they're kind of ridiculous in a pair, because it's just a lot of burn you can throw out. So if you don't have it procced, you will have it ready to go in like half a second. As always, thank you for tuning in and making it this far, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. And if you like, I'll kiss you.